Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
Yo, it's your boy, the odd guy himself, Malik King Scott.
Hi, I'm Charlie Edwards.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 57 of the BoxHard podcast. We've been away for 2 weeks, so I'm very, very sorry about that. We had to announce via Twitter that due to complications, we weren't able to produce the show for the last 2 weeks. But you know what? We're back to normal now, and I tell you what, it feels great to be back. It truly, truly does. I'm your host, Joey Coastman. If you've listened before, you should know that by now. And as always, I'm joined by the co-host and the main panel speaker, the man who gives his news, his views, and his opinions all over the show, Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joey. How are you?
Very good, my friend. Very good. So as I said, we're back in business now. Because of the last 2 weeks, we've missed out on all the reviews and previews, and it's now all a review, of course, because those fights have taken place and those fights have, they've ended. So I'm just going to visit some of those fights that we've missed. I'm not going to go over them in great detail. I just want to really whiz through that, and then we can start part one. So this is a bit of a rundown of what's happened in the last 2 weeks. So going back to Saturday, the 29th of October, I just want to mention that there was a card over in Puerto Rico, I should really say. Top of the bill over there, Juan Manuel Lopez. He moved to 35-5 with a win over Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. That was a TKO in round 11. Vasquez was down in round 11, of course, and it was called to a halt. It was a good knockdown from Juan Manuel Lopez, and there was a lot of stuff going on after the fight. You know, he ran over to the opposite corner and celebrated, and then the trainer of Wilfredo Vasquez Jr. jumped in the ring, and there was a bit of a fist fight between those two. It was quite incredible, to be honest. So there's been clips of that floating around everywhere, but the less said, the better on that one, to be honest. We're also now going to talk about a fight that happened the following day. This one was on the 30th of October. This was on Sunday. Just one fight to mention over in Australia, Joel Bronca. He picked up his 30th career win with a knockout in the first round over Decha Jafarasi. So I think the guy had only had 5 fights, and I think 3 of them were losses. So serious overmatching stuff there, but Joel Bronca got the job done. That's it for October. We're now going over to November, early November, Friday the 4th of November. I'm going to start with over in USA, over in Arkansas at the Clear Channel Metroplex Event Center. So a bit of a mouthful for the venue. Top of the bill, Ishmael Silak. Now he's the guy who Kovalev annihilated, to be honest. He actually has moved up. I mean, it's kind of crazy because since the loss to Kovalev, he's moved up to heavyweight. He fought an opponent called Brad Austin, who had a record of 11 wins and 21 losses, and Ishmael Silak picked up a KO win in round 2, so his record now 24-3. That's it for that one over in the USA. Another card that happened on the same night over in the USA, top of the bill. This one was over in Las Vegas, Nevada at the Treasure Island Casino, USA, of course. Top of the bill, Jesse Hart, 20-0. He moved to 21-0 with a TKO in round 3 over Andrew Hernandez. He retained the WBO, NABO super middleweight title and the USBA super middleweight title, and he picked up the vacant NABF super middleweight title. So great stuff there for Jesse Hart. Also over in, well, this one was on the 5th of November, so Firework Night, which was a Saturday. A lot of people made the most of that one. So over on the Saturday, a card I should mention happening over in Germany. One fight really to mention, top of the bill, Giovanni De Carolis. He put his WBA World Super Middleweight title on the line, and he lost this fight. He was knocked out in round 12, the final round, against his opponent, Tyrone Zuge, I think he said it, Zuge or Zoiga or something like that. So Tyron Zoiga, remember those guys both fought before and it was a draw. So this was a rematch and Zoiga got the win. So he's now the new WBA World Super Middleweight Champion. So good stuff for him. And his record now 19 wins and he's got that one loss, you know, the first fight between him and De Carolis, a fight that many say he should have won. This was also the bill that Demetrius Andrade was supposed to be on, but it ended up not happening for whatever reason. So I think that's maybe been pushed back or it's been cancelled. I'm not sure. We'll have to wait to hear what's next on that one. But also on the same night over in York Hall, Ben Jones got a points win over 10 rounds. His win was over Carlos Osorio. So Ben Jones now 22 wins, 5 losses and the 1 draw. That's it for York Hall. Now over in the Titanic Exhibition Centre, Belfast, Northern Ireland, United Kingdom, of course. In no particular order, Phil Sutcliffe Jr. moved to 12 wins. He's got the 1 loss. It was a real good fight between him and Chris Jenkins. And Sutcliffe Jr. moves to 12-1, as I said, and Jenkins was down in the first round, but that was the fight of the card, to be completely honest. Also on the bill, Marco McCulloch moved to 16 wins and 3 losses. His opponent retired at the end of the 4th. Jamie Conlon was on that bill. He moved to 18-0. He's been in a lot of exciting fights. This one wasn't too exciting, to be honest. It was pretty much a bit of an easy win for him. His opponent way overmatched in terms of, skills and all that stuff. So it was a points win over 8 rounds, that one. Big sexy Sean Turner moved to 9-0 on this bill, a points win over 6 rounds for him. Being looked after by Peter Fury, his man Con Sheehan. So Conor Sheehan moved to 4-0 with a points win over 8 rounds. A bit of a boring fight, that one, if I'm completely being honest. Also on the bill, Paddy Barnes turned professional. So his first fight was it goes down as a knockout, I suppose. It was a disqualification for his opponent. His opponent wasn't too sure if it was a boxing match or a wrestling match. There was all sorts of fouls going on. And it ended up with him lifting Paddy Barnes in the air. It looked like he wanted to do some sort of suplex or something, some serious WWE move. And the referee had seen enough, and that was the end of that. So Paddy Barnes wins with a disqualification win in the 4th round. It was scheduled for 6, so Paddy Barnes now 1-0. Stephen Allman was on the bill. He got his 22nd career win. His opponent retired at the end of the 3rd round, so his record now 22-3. That's really it for that bill, to be completely honest. Also, I want to move over to the big one, which was last Saturday. Well, I say last Saturday, it was the Saturday before that, I should say. This was on the 5th of November, as I said. Jesse Vargas over in the Thomas & Mack Center, Las Vegas, Nevada again. Jesse Vargas put his WBO World Welterweight title on the line against Manny Pacquiao. Jesse Vargas 27-1. Manny Pacquiao 58-6 with the 2 draws. Remember, we're trying to really speed through this. I've got to be honest, in my opinion, Ayaz, Jesse Vargas, we all knew he was a big underdog here. Manny Pacquiao went in there. He's a bit of a shadow of his former self, but he got the job done. I don't think I think we all know his best years are behind him, but it wasn't overly impressive. He kind of didn't really get out of first or second gear. Again, another fight where he didn't, he failed to get a knockout. Vargas was down in round 2 of the fight. It looked like he may be able to get one. Floyd Mayweather was ringside as well. A lot of people talking about the potential rematch between the pair. That's a fight I don't really want to see. I mean, it'd be great paydays for both men, both great fighters, but yeah, I'm not too sure I want to see that one. And as I say, Manny Pacquiao, a little bit under impressive, to be honest. I wasn't I know he's past his best, as I said, but he wasn't so good. He really wasn't, in my opinion. I was going to ask you about that fight, Ayaz, but I know the listeners will probably know everything that I'm talking, so I just want to whiz through. Nonito Donaire was also on the bill. He lost his WBO World Super Bantamweight title here. He was the champion. He got in there against Jesse Magdaleno, who had a record of 23-0, unbeaten. Nonito Donaire's record, of course, 37 wins and 3 losses. I'm not going to talk about the fight really too much, but Nonito Donaire was very... he's another fighter that's past his best, and it's a bit of a weakish kind of division at the moment, Super Bantamweight. The WBO belt was obviously... was pretty easy for Donaire to pick up, and he's lost it already, so not a long reign for him in this division. But Jesse Magdaleno, good fighter, But Nonito Donaire, a lot of people saying he should retire now. I think that may be a little bit harsh, but he's definitely seen better days. So Nonito Donaire now 37-4. Jesse Magdaleno, the new WBO World Super Bantamweight champion with a record of 24-0. Great stuff for him. Zhu Shiming managed to pick up the vacant WBO World Flyweight title. He had his opponent down in round 2 of his fight. His opponent had a great record of 39 wins, the 1 loss and 2 draws. This was a rematch. His opponent, Prasisak Pathrom. So good stuff for Zhu Shiming. He was actually very impressive. He was able to, land a lot of shots and get out there. It was very much stick and move stuff from him, which was great, which he hasn't really showed so far. So he looked very hard to beat, I've got to be honest. And his opponent, a lot of people thought it was Manny Pacquiao because they looked so similar. Prasisak Pathrom, the guy from Thailand. So Zhu Shiming now picked up a world title in his 10th fight, so he's now 9-1. Oscar Valdez was on this bill. He moved to 21-0, of course, defending his WBO World Featherweight title successfully. He had his opponent down, Hiroshige Osawa. Probably got that really badly wrong, but Osawa was down in the 4th round, and Oscar Valdez looks a real force. But that's it for the Thomas and Mack Centre. One last fight, I believe, to mention from this week, or that week, I should say. It was on the Sunday, I believe. Andre Rudenko picked up his career 30th win, which he's now 30 wins and 2 losses. His opponent was pretty poor, but it was a unanimous decision win over 8 rounds. Moving over to Thursday, the 10th of November now, a fight I'd like to mention, just one over in France. Ivan Mendy, he moved to 36 wins. He's got the 4 losses and the 1 draw. He won via KO in round 5 and picked up the vacant IBF Intercontinental Lightweight title. Ivan Mendy, the man that beat Luke Campbell pretty badly, to be honest. I know that Eddie Hearn's talking about a rematch. It'd definitely be a great one. Now, going over to Saturday, the 12th of November. So we're now on part 1, the review part of the show. So we're up to date now. We're talking about the fights from last week. So Saturday, the 12th of November, just a Saturday just gone. Over in Germany, Mehdi Amar put his EBU light heavyweight title on the line against Robert Stieglitz. Stieglitz won this fight via unanimous decision after 12 rounds. Stieglitz was, much too much for Mehdi Amar, and Robert Stieglitz there picking up his 50th career win. So his record now 50 wins, 5 losses and the 1 draw. But that's it for Germany. Elsewhere, Norbert Nemisapati, who was the opponent for Callum Smith on that Brook Golovkin undercard at the at the O2 Arena. Callum Smith, that fight all took place on the 10th of September. So Norbert Nemisapati, who was the reigning Hungarian super middleweight champion, he's actually had 3 fights since September 10th, which is quite incredible, including 2 over the last 2 weeks. He's won both fights. He's had 3 since that fight. All have been wins. And the 2 fights that he's been in, I mean, it's not really something that I want to go too much time over explaining it all, but he's had 3 fights, all 3 wins, and the 2 last fights he's had have only been 10 days apart. So we had a fight on the 2nd of November and a fight on the 12th. So incredible stuff there for him. I think he lost to Callum Smith and just decided, you know what, I'm going to be a journeyman. But he's getting wins, so very, very active stuff. But that's it for that one. We're now going to go over to Monte Carlo over in Monaco. Wow, a matchroom card. It was exciting stuff beforehand. We were all expecting, something quite special. It was the first international show for Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Sports. We're going to start with the first fight that happened on the televised card. Martin Murray, 33-4, with the 1 draw going into his bout against Nuhu Lawal, who had a record of 23-0. Now, Martin Murray was supposed to face Arthur Abraham. He pulled out of the fight with a suspicious injury, very, very suspicious. He was then, he had to find a last-minute replacement, which he found. Well, I say last-minute. He had to find a replacement a few days out, maybe a couple of weeks out, and they managed to get Dmitry Chudanov, who lost almost every round to Chris Eubank Jr. a couple of years ago. Then He pulled out for whatever reason, and on the last minute, I think it was 2 or 3 days' notice, they pulled in Nuhu Lawal. I think he was ranked 14 in one of the governing bodies. He was, undefeated, as I said, 23-0, and he was a lot better than people, or than anyone, kind of gave him credit for. I know that no one really kind of knew who he was. And Martin Murray, this fight was for the vacant WBA Continental Super Middleweight title. So Murray was deducted a point in round 12 for leading with a head. I think Murray was a little bit dirty, I've got to be honest. He was disgusted with the referee. He thought the referee did a really poor job. But I think Martin Murray was fighting a bit dirty, which we don't usually see him do. And this guy, he was from Africa. He was great. Lawal was really, really good. I think, you've got to kind of look at it and say, okay, Martin Murray, he's been at that world level. This guy hasn't. We expect Martin Murray to get the job done easier than what he did. But you've got to know that Martin Murray was no way at all prepared for this guy. He hadn't seen any clips of him, even on YouTube. He just got in there and, he probably underestimated him. He probably thought, this guy's 23-0. He hasn't really fought anyone. I'm going to get it done easy. And it really wasn't easy. So it made for quite an interesting fight, to be honest. But he definitely managed to get the win. I had no qualms about the decision. So Martin Murray now 34-4 with the one draw. He looks to try and pick up a world title. I do want to pick up on one thing. I can't remember who it was who said it now, but the Sky team after the fight said, in your heart of hearts, do you see Martin Murray becoming a world champion at the weight he's at, which is super middleweight, 168? And I can't remember who it was, but someone said, no, I don't see him being a champion at 168. It's a really hot division at the moment, but I do see him becoming a world champion at middleweight. And I just thought, hang on a minute. So you mean to say he's got more chance of going down into middleweight, which, to be honest, he should be at anyway, because naturally that's much more of a better, more comfortable weight for him. So you mean to say he'd be going down at 160 and having a fight against Golovkin, because he's not going to be able to get a shot at anyone else. The only other champion is Billy Joe Saunders. So I can't see Billy Joe Saunders or Golovkin losing to Martin Murray. I can't even see Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren actually managing to do business on the Saunders and Martin Murray fight. I can't see that ever happening. So he's been in there with Golovkin before, and Golovkin obviously knocked him out. So I can't see him at all getting close to winning a world title at middleweight. So I think that was a bit ridiculous from whoever it was by. I can't remember who it was. I don't think it was Johnny Nelson. My mind slipped me there. But if anyone does know, let us know your views on that. Let us know what weight class you think Martin Murray can win a world title at, which one is more likely to win a world title at, whether it's middleweight or super middleweight, or maybe just let us know that he can't win it at all because he's just not good enough. But I will say he's one of the most unlucky guys in boxing. He really should be a world champion at least once or twice at least. Now, also on that bill, Jamie McDonnell defended successfully his WBA World Bantamweight title. His record going into this bout was a record of 28 wins and 2 losses with a 1 draw. His opponent, former world champion, really, really good fighter, 25 wins and 4 losses with the 1 draw, Liborio Solis. Now, a hell of a lot of people, including all of the Sky team, they said that, they gave the fight, they scored the fight to Solis. Jamie McDonnell, I think it was a strange one. I'm going to defend him a little bit here. I think a lot of people, I think that Jamie McDonnell started awfully, and I think that as the fight progressed, I think when we kind of knew he was quite a few rounds down, I think a lot of people stopped scoring it. But when you actually watch that fight back and you score it every single round, because when the other guy picked up the first 5 rounds or so, you thought, it's going to be, he doesn't look good, Jamie McDonnell. He's lost it. What's the point scoring it anymore? I think he did pretty well to get some of those rounds back. He was warming into it as the fight went on. He started a little bit late, in my opinion. It was definitely very close, but all of the Sky team were very honest, and I've got to give them credit for that. And after the fight, on the post-fight interview, they actually said to not Martin Murray, they said to Jamie McDonnell, it was Johnny Nelson who said it, you were very lucky there. And I don't think Jamie McDonnell realised that they actually said that live on air, because he went on to make a comment saying, what you just said off air there, but he didn't realise everybody had said it and they'd said it on TV. So I don't know if that was a mistake by Johnny Nelson or being brutally honest. So I give them credit for telling it how it is, to be honest. A lot of people criticise Sky for, trying to protect their fighters with certain comments and so, but it was definitely a close fight. I'm not sure. Maybe Solis did pick the win up. I'd definitely have to score it round by round, but I just want to add that in there for people that are going to watch the card back. Just bear that in mind, that it's important to score every round, not also just on the the amount of punches landed, but the quality over the quantity, because Solis was throwing a lot of shots and he had a lot of speed. I thought they pulled in a fighter that was over the hill. This was actually a voluntary defence that Dave Caldwell and Jamie McDonald chose. So it was it was definitely a banana skin there. A lot of people saying he exposed Jamie McDonald, and Jamie McDonald, a lot of people really was looking at as the number one man in the bantamweight division. So a lot of people taking back those words now, which is very unfortunate to see. Also on that bill, again, I said in terms of, in order, should I say, of the way it came on the TV. The next fight was for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Heavyweight title. Luis King Kong Ortiz, 25-0, going into his fight against Malik King Scott, 38-2 with the one draw. Everybody knows I'm a huge fan of Malik Scott. He's a personal friend of mine. We're always speaking on WhatsApp and FaceTiming and so on. But I've got to be completely honest here. I would love to defend him. I would love to say he had an off night. This didn't go his way, but nothing seemed to be wrong with him. He just fought completely like garbage. He was absolutely dreadful. He doesn't really deserve another big shot. A lot of people trying to say that he kind of exposed Luis Ortiz. No, he didn't even win a round. He was down 3 times, I believe. I can't even remember now. He seemed to be going down when he wasn't hurt. He was not letting his hands go at all. I saw something about he'd only landed like 25 punches in the first 25 minutes of the fight, which is like, one punch a minute. And that's just not right. I'm not even sure if that was landed punches or thrown punches. He just was not throwing. He was absolutely awful. He was terrible. He really was. And it hurts me to say so, because he's a good friend of mine. He really is. But that was absolutely appalling. And it was just terrible. It really was. But the only good thing is, he went the distance and King Kong didn't knock him out. That's the only thing that he can take pride in, if anything. But he was awful. His corner were frustrated with him. When he let his hands go, he was actually hitting Ortiz. He actually looked like he wobbled him at one point in the fight as well. I just don't know why he wasn't letting his hands go. I just do not get it. I really don't get it. Another real strange performance from Malik Scott. A big question mark over that one. And as I say, when he was letting his hands go, he was landing on Ortiz. I think, I don't know what he was doing. I can't even defend him or speak for it. I really don't know what that was about. It was absolutely terrible. But enough said on that one. The less said, the better. Luis Ortiz now 26-0. And a lot of people, it kind of took the momentum away a little bit. I know Eddie Hearn wanted to see a devastating knockout in the first round or something like that to build his fighter. It's his first fight with Matchroom, and it was very, it really failed to impress. It was so lackluster. It was terrible. It was really terrible. It really, really was. So that's it for that one. We're now going to talk about the main event. Jason Sosa, 19 wins, 1 loss and 4 draws. A lot better than his record suggests. He put his WBA World Super Featherweight title on the line against Stephen Smith, a man who we're huge fans of. We love the Smith family here. Smith's record was 24 wins and 2 losses. Now, Smith had a bad start to the fight. He was down in the second round as well. He had a terrible start to the fight. It took him a few rounds to warm into it, and then he was managing to hurt Jason Sosa. A few times Jason Sosa was, I'm not going to say saved by the bell. That's a bit cliche. That's a bit running away with it. I think we should say that he was kind of fortunate that the bell went when it went. I'm not saying he was on the verge of being knocked out, but I'm saying he was being really hurt. And I think if some of the rounds were 30 seconds longer, we may have seen him touch down at least. But Stephen Smith showed a lot of heart and courage and guts. He really, it's 2 fights now, 2 world title challenges that have gone wrong for him within 7 months. So all credit to Eddie Hearn for getting those shots for him. It's been great promoting from Eddie Hearn once again. Great chances. He's delivered really well for his fighter there, but it just wasn't to be. Stephen Smith's night. And Jason Sosa, he really announced his stuff on the world scene. He's a champion that likes to go on the road and defend his titles, and that's what makes a champion. That is incredible stuff. And Jason Sosa now 20 wins, 1 loss, and the 4 draws. Stephen Smith 24 wins and 3 losses. I hope he'll be back. It's very, very hard to go back to the drawing board, being beaten by 2 different world champions in your weight division within 7 months. But he's really, he's announced himself to the world as well, Stephen Smith. I think he's showed everybody that he can mix it with the best at his weight, and I hope he can come back again. I think hopefully Eddie Hearn can get another shot for him. It's a big ask. It might have to be, it will be sometime in 2017 at least, but I'd like to see him get another shot because I think he's very, very classy and he's a nice guy. We've had him on the show before, of course. Now, that's it for that one. We're now going to go over to a fight that happened over in York Hall. I just want to mention one fight. I didn't realise it was on last week. I didn't realise because I wanted to get him on the show. But Jermaine Smile over in York Hall put his English super middleweight title on the line against Leon McKenzie. I wanted to get Leon McKenzie on. He's a friend of the show. He's been on once or twice before. His brother's a real good friend of mine. So Jermaine Smile put the belt on the line and he picked up a split decision win over 10 rounds. Jermaine Smile, new record now, 14 wins, 4 losses and the 2 draws. And Leon McKenzie gets his first career loss. So his record now, 8 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. It's hard to lose a fight on split decision. You'd probably rather it be pretty wide, rather get beaten up a little bit. I know it sounds crazy to say so, but when it's so close that you think that you've won the fight, I believe that Leon McKenzie thinks he did enough. That's when it's harder because you've got to go back and you kind of, in your heart of hearts, you really believe you won and it's been stolen from you. But if you just go, you know what, I got outclassed, the right man won the fight, fair enough. That's when it's a little bit more easier to accept. It's hard to go away thinking you got cheated out of it rather than beaten fair and square. So we wish Leon McKenzie all the best, and he's lost his O, which is very disappointing, but I'm sure he'll be back. Hope he doesn't take the loss too personally and it doesn't knock him too much, because we know he's quite an emotional guy in a good way as well as a bad way, as well as a positive way and a negative way, I should say. But that's it for York Hall. We're now going to go over to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, at the Liacoras Center. Top of the bill, Javier Fortuna. His record, 30 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw, going into his fight against Omar Douglas, 17-0 his record. So it was a good matchup in terms of styles and everything. And Fortuna was down in the first round. It was a nightmare start for him, but he managed to get up off the canvas and win a unanimous decision over 10 rounds. So Javier Fortuna, big claps for him. Great stuff there. Showed some serious character. And also on this bill, everybody calls him a cherry picker. We don't do that over here. It's Danny Garcia. He moved to 33-0. He fought an opponent that, Errol Spence Jr. blew him out within about 4 rounds. Danny Garcia took 7 rounds to get the TKO. His opponent, as I say, Vargas, was down in the first round. Vargas's record now 25 wins, 3 losses and the 1 draw. So a real warm-up fight there for Danny Garcia. Not impressive at all, but he's got that big fight with Keith Thurman and it's being built up, a lot of trash talk, which is always good, and that really is a great fight for next year. It really is. But that's it for that one. That's it for the reviewing. We got Ayaz coming in with the news now, so there's a lot of reviewing now. I know it's took quite a while, so Ayaz is now going to come in with this week's news.
Frank Warren has teamed up with BT Sport to show live boxing on BT Sport.
Yes, this is a bit of an interesting one. Frank Warren, his company, Box Nation, have signed some sort of partnership agreement deal with BT Sport. I think it's in effect from 2017. But basically, if you are subscribed to BT Sport, you will get Box Nation for free. So there's a lot of people out there actually that subscribe to both. Like my dad, he's actually subscribed to BT Sports and he's subscribed to Box Nation. So he's going to drop the Box Nation one out, I'd imagine, and save the £12 a month, which is great value, by the way, if anybody from Frank Warren's team is listening to this. But, I'm a big subscriber of Box Nation, a huge fan of what they do. But BT Sports are going to be pouring a lot of money in Frank Warren's pocket to put on more fights. I think more UK-based fights. So it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds here, because Frank Warren, although he's got a lot of fighters, he's Eddie Hearn's biggest rival, he hasn't got like TV-worthy, well, I should say a lot of TV-worthy fighters, he hasn't got a lot of great fighters. Like all the world champions right now, they're all with Eddie Hearn. All the big stars are with Eddie Hearn. The biggest star that Frank Warren has over here anyway, I know that Vijender Singh's probably his biggest star worldwide, but over here it's Billy Joe Saunders. He's probably the best guy that Frank Warren has. Ayaz, do you reckon there's anyone bigger than Billy Joe Saunders in Frank Warren's stable? He's got Liam Smith, but anyone else that I might have missed?
Liam Smith. You said Vijender Singh, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Who else is big as well?
Apart from Billy Joe Saunders, I think that's it. I mean, he had Chisora, but he's not with him anymore. So...
Yeah, I think... Is he still promoting Andy Lee?
No. Andy Lee's with... I'm not even sure who he's with now. It's definitely not Frank Warren. So... yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting, because I don't think BT Sport will be happy with him putting on like these York prospect shows with Prince Patel and these guys. I'm not saying he's going to do that, but maybe we're going to see a lot of signings. I do know one piece of news, Ayaz, that you probably haven't got in your news stack, that Frank Warren has just this week or last week signed Harley Ben, who is actually Nigel Ben's other son, and he doesn't get on with Conor Ben, and he doesn't get on with his own dad, Nigel Ben. So Harley Ben, he's looking to turn pro. Well, he's turned pro. He's signed a promotional deal. He's going to be fighting very soon. I'm not sure when it is. It might be later this month. So eyes peeled on that one. He's going to, build him on the whole thing that he's Nigel Ben's son. So that'll be hopefully another star for Frank Warren. But he might have to do some big signings, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be better for the sport of boxing. And a lot of people saying it might even put a bit of pressure on Eddie Hearn to put on better fights. So it's great for boxing fans. It's great news for boxing fans. But that's it for that piece of news. Roll in with the next one, Ayaz.
Kell Brook will be staying at welterweight now.
Yeah, good news. We thought he might be going to 154. Of course, he jumped over that to fight Golovkin. A lot of people thought he was going to vacate his title. But when he spoke with Eddie Hearn, I think it was last week, he's decided, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to be giving up my IBF belt. I've wanted that title since I was a kid. I dreamed to be world champion. I've got the belt and I'm not giving it away. So it looks like he's going to be fighting Errol Spence Jr. And a lot of people were saying, oh, look at him, he's getting ready to duck him. But it seems like he wants that fight. So I'll give credit to Kell Brook. He's got serious cojones, as they say. Any other news for us, Ayaz?
Yes, Overall McKenzie has retired from boxing.
Yeah, very unfortunate. He had a fight lined up with Marco Huck. He pulled out of that fight because of an injury or something like that. But it's come out that he's actually got a serious heart condition that they've discovered. So it's forced him to have to retire from boxing, which is very, very sad. He come very, very close to winning the IBF Cruiserweight World title over in God knows what country it was in South America. I always forget, but he put up a great effort against the champion Victor Emilio Ramirez. But, he was a little bit, I don't know about robbed, but he was very, very close. We had him on the show, I remember, the week after that fight, and he was talking all about it, and it was a crazy series of events that unfolded over there. And he was a nice guy over McKenzie when he come on the show. He was a pleasure to speak to. He's been a great ambassador for the sport. And, they call him the upsetter. And, of course, he's upset a lot of guys when he should have really lost against them. So he's been great. He's been a great servant for the sport. So we wish Oval McKenzie all the best with whatever he does in the future.
Yes, finally, Katie Taylor will face Karina Kopinska on her professional debut at the SS Arena in Wembley on Saturday, November 26th.
Yes, Katie Taylor's turned professional with Eddie Hearn. I've got a feeling that we talked about that, a couple of weeks back when the news broke out. But if we didn't, we're sorry about that. And yeah, she signed with Matchroom Sports. And it's going to be interesting to see Eddie Hearn, what he can do with females boxing, the girls' side of the boxing. So it's going to be interesting there. And Katie Taylor, we know she's an absolute mega star over in Ireland. So we wish her all the best. We truly do. And there's another piece of, another bit of not news really, but we're going to be talking about it. There's a fighter who's fighting this week who's a famous Olympic gold medalist for the girls boxing, and she's turning pro and fighting this week. If you haven't guessed or you don't know, you will know in the preview part of the show, which will follow shortly. Just before we end part one, there's two things to do. I just want to talk about some of the funny name fighters that I've seen over the last 2 weeks. I've got about 3 or 4 of them. A guy who was fighting over in China. This was at the Dali Stadium. There was actually a guy on the bill called Jun Ki. So, like, a legit junkie was on this bill. He actually lost. It was his debut, and he lost a majority decision over 4 rounds. So, bad stuff for Junkie then. He hits rock bottom. Excuse that pun. And also, over in this was at the Famu Gava Gym in Florida. I'm not sure what date this was, but there's a man on the bill who definitely deserves a mention. A man called Will Ferrell. Yes, Will Ferrell. He's unbeaten in 3 fights now because he won this one. He's a heavyweight and he could be coming to the top. You never, ever know. It could be the actual actor Will Ferrell. Imagine that. It really could be. I guess he's probably a heavyweight with the best curly hair we will ever see. So a unanimous decision win over 6 rounds there for Will Ferrell. And he beat a guy called DeMarcus Kemp. So great stuff there for Will Ferrell. And also a man that we should mention with a strange old name, a guy called Joshua Anthony Ortiz. So it's like Anthony Joshua and Lewis Ortiz rolled into one. I think that maybe Eddie Hearn should give this man a contract, but his record now 2-0 with a unanimous decision win over 4 rounds over Luis Villegas, who had no professional wins, which is always a great sight to see. Also, one name that I did see, a guy who fought over in Remington Park last week over in Oklahoma. This one was in USA. A man on the bill called Dennis Knife Chief. When I first read it, I thought we actually said Dennis Knife Chef, which would have been quite ironic. But he picked up the vacant USA Oklahoma State super welterweight title. What a title that is. Definitely one that I'd like to get my hands on. I probably got a chance, actually. And his record was 6 wins, 5 losses and the 1 draw. But it's now 7 wins because he got a TKO win in round 5. A lot of these funny name fighters are winning this week, which is always great. It really makes me smile. It really does. And last but not least of the funny name fighters, it's a man who doesn't have a funny name. But due to something that happened to him early on in his career, he just becomes a funny name. So a guy called Richard Dawson. Now, the real boxing heads will remember, and the real cricket heads will remember. Richard Dawson was the man that Freddie Flintoff actually turned professional with Barry McGuigan. Do you remember when the cricketer, the ex-England cricketer, Freddie Flintoff actually turned professional for 1 fight on that devastating... It was just horrible. It was just absolutely... Oh, it was terrible. It really was. He fought Richard Dawson, and remember, he won that fight as well. So Freddie Flintoff, a cricketer, actually beat this guy, Richard Dawson. And believe it or not, he actually managed to get a KO win in the 2nd round over a guy called Chester Burton with a losing record. So Richard Dawson now 6 wins, 3 losses. And remember, one of those 3 losses was to a cricketer, and he's got 2 draws. So Richard Dawson, from that loss, he's always going to be known as the funniest name fighter in the whole of the boxing world. But that's it for the reviewing. That's it for the roundup of the last 2 weeks where we've been absent once again. Apologies for that. That's it for the funny name fighter. That's it for Ayaz's piece of the news. We're now going to bring in our first interview, and that will wrap up part 1. So, of course, nothing else to do but to welcome our first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former 2-time world title challenger and one of the craftiest veterans the heavyweight division has to offer. It's, of course, Mr. Tony Thompson. Tony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. You're welcome. It's my pleasure. Now, thanks for joining us, Tony. I really appreciate that. I want to go over a few things that happened in the past before getting on to the current situation. I want to go back. I want you to get in our virtual time machine here. I want to go back to February of 2013, your first fight back from losing to Vladimir Klitschko. You took on our very own David Price. Now, people thought just 7 months after being stopped by Klitschko, you were taking on an Olympic medalist here, and Price was an unbeaten knockout artist as a pro. You were going to get flattened here. Everybody, that was the general consensus. Now, you completely threw a spanner in the works when you stopped him in the 2nd round. A good memory for yourself to look back on there, Tony.
Definitely. Like you said, coming off a loss against the champ, looking to stay relevant in the division, looking to stay at the top of the division so I can get a rematch with the champ again, hopefully for the third time. So, it was an absolute lovely thing for me at that time.
And of course, after beating David Price, everybody, including myself, I'll be honest, thought it was a little bit of a fluke. Maybe David's head wasn't in the right place that night. We hoped. An immediate rematch was set to take place just 5 months later. This time you were down in the second round, and everybody thought, maybe it's really going to be Price's night. But ultimately, you went on to stop him again, this time in the 5th round. This win was really the one that wiped away any doubts and broke a lot of British hearts. In all honesty, how do you assess David's performance in both the fights, Tony?
Well, I just thought he was the first fight he came in, he was confident, and then I knocked his ass out. So I think the first fight, it was as simple as that. That was the first fight. It was too short of a sample for people to believe what I just did to him. Like you said, even yourself, you thought it was a fluke. It was such a small sample, people could not believe it. But I worked on that move. I practiced that move. I wasn't in the best physical shape I could have been probably because I was dealing with some illnesses and sicknesses. But I worked on the move that I knew could get David. It worked. The second fight, obviously, I already knew I was better than him. He was scared shitless, honestly. The whole presser, he was scared shitless of me. And I told him, you talked all that shit about me being a fluke. Now you got to see me and I'm healthy. Now you got to see me, look me in my face and when I'm healthy. And then when he knocked me down and I got up, I saw the life go out of him. I knew he was going to be stopped in a matter of rounds. He's not a fighter. He's an athlete fighting.
Okay. And after back-to-back knockouts of David Price, 2 fights later, you were in there with, a Cuban amateur great, Odlanier Solis, another Olympic medalist, surely with a bright future as a pro. He had that one weird loss to Vitaly Klitschko, which came as a bit of an early title shot, in fairness. But still, things were, big things were expected of him until he met you. You beat him via split decision over 12 rounds. You honoured him a rematch 11 months later in which you collect a stoppage win this time because he refused to come out of his corner for the 9th round. So you basically did the same to a Cuban guy because both guys here, that's why I nicknamed you a couple of years ago the Plan Wrecker, because both these guys had big futures. They were Olympians and you basically beat them twice, and it got worse the second time. You stopped David Price in worse circumstances the second time, and also Solis in the second fight as well. Those fights, Tony, a lot of people thought that you were, past your best sort of thing, but those fights made people think again. How great was that win over Solis? Both the wins over Solis, great wins.
Well, the first win should have never been a split decision. I dominated Solis, but obviously then with the promoter's fighter in the promoter's hometown, they had to try to help him as best they could. I shut Solis' ass out, period. Second fight, did the same thing for 8 rounds until he decided he had enough. Now, obviously, this wasn't the greatest of Solis. He was out of shape that second fight, especially that second fight, But I did what I was supposed to do as a professional. I went in there and I gave him his early exit that he was looking for. I showed everybody that I'm still relevant in the game, and I'm going to do the same thing soon somebody stop being scared shitless of me and give me a shot. You see, they keeping AJ far away from me as possible. That's possible. None of the other guys want to come fight. It's starting to look real bad for England over there. Nobody wants to really step up and be a fighter,
We're going to get onto that in a moment. Since that win over Solis, you've lost to 2 good guys in Malik Scott and Luis Ortiz. Now, we're up to date now. Your last 2 fights, as I said, was against Malik Scott and Luis Ortiz. They both fought each other on this past weekend. Did you manage to see that fight at all?
I've managed to see some of it. It wasn't worth seeing.
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. You've done yourself a favour not watching the whole fight, to be honest. It was the worst fight I've seen in years. And just by coincidence, yesterday, Eddie Hearn replied to you on Twitter. You tweeted him basically saying that you want the Joshua fight. He tweeted back saying that and I quote, "We've got plans, but there is plenty of UK heavyweights for you," to which you interpreted as they don't want that fight. So, Tony, firstly, you responded with something along the lines of you'd like to fight Josh on one of Joshua's undercards, perhaps beat one of Eddie Hearn's other heavyweights first and then get the fight. Would you seriously go down that route of fighting on his undercard against another guy first?
Definitely, man. I'm confident in my ability against any of them. So bring them on. If it gets me the shot at AJ, bring the fight on. I'm ready for it. Let's do it. Give me a proper camp, and give me a fair, proper camp, and then send me out there and see what happens. I dominate all them heavyweights. I probably dominate AJ ass too, which is why I put up translation. They don't want none of this. Just like you said, they said they had plans, and you already named me the plan record. So, so it was obvious for them to keep their young fellow away from me before I ruined some more plans.
Now, I know that Eddie Hearn has repeatedly been saying lately, I don't know if you're aware of this, but he's been saying a lot in the UK media. I said, I know that lately Eddie Hearn has been saying in the UK media, you may not be aware of this, but he's been saying repeatedly lately that he wants David Price to fight you to try and avenge that defeat again. He wants another fight, but he's also said, because he's not obviously David Price's promoter, so he did go on to say that David Price's team do not want that fight. Who would you like to fight out of the UK guys? Obviously, David Price would be the obvious one, but seeing as it seems like they don't want.
Well, I mean, not David Price. Already conquered David Price twice, so he wouldn't be the obvious one. I would take a third one with David, like I said, if it gets me to Anthony. That's who I want to see, Anthony. But I'll fight any of them. Dylan White, Chisora, any of them. I know Chisora's a warrior. He'll fight anybody. Make the fight with Chisora. Who cares? That's a good fight. Tony Thompson versus Joshua. I know he's not going to run. I'm not going to run. He'll make the fight. I'll make the fight. Any of them. Let's do it.
And David Hay, of course, coming back in the picture. He's without an opponent. He said he was going to be fighting on the 10th of December, but nothing's been announced yet, so I doubt that will happen. But is that a fight you'd like?
Hey, man, if David Hay wants to fight, obviously, but David Hay, he's so up and down. It'd be hard to really accept a fight with him, knowing that he will cancel or whatever whatever bullshit he wants to do. But if you really wanted to fight, hell yeah, let's do it. It don't matter who it is. I don't care which one of them wants to fight. If they want to fight, they really want to fight, call me, hit me up, let's do it.
And I just want to ask your opinion on a couple of other things before we let you go, Tony. What are your thoughts on Joshua versus Molina?
It's a joke, man. Joshua is a champion now. They need to conduct a young boy like a champion. And, you get tired of seeing all these guys hold these guys back for fear of losing and stuff like that, man. You just get tired of it, man, especially a guy like me working hard as he can. And all these promoters are calling these supposed to be great fighters and champs, but they calling them. They keeping them safe. I mean, if he's such a great guy, let his ass sink or swim.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people pretty disappointed with that. And some people don't even realize, we've had Molina
stop
on
paying
this
for
show.
them damn fights.
We've had Molina on this show twice, and he's a nice guy, he really is, but he did go on to say that he's only just recently quit his job as a teacher. So it goes to show, he's not even 100% dedicated to the sport. I just can't see him posing a threat, but I hope I'm wrong, because it'd be good, if he can come there with some sort of game. But there are a lot of people out there, Tony. This is not my views, but there are a lot of people out here who are big fans of Joshua who would say something like, well, you're a southpaw, so was Charles Martin. Look what Joshua did to Martin. He was a legitimate
The hell with Charles
champion.
Martin. Charles Martin ain't did shit close to what I did in this game.
Let me just finish that
Whoever
sentence.
compares me to Charles Martin, they're idiots.
Let me just finish that sentence. A lot of people would say this, that they go, he was a legitimate world champion. He's 15 years younger than you. I was going to say, what do you say to those people, Tony?
That's what I would say. What the hell has Charles Martin ever done anything close to this game as me? He walked into a championship fight. I'm happy for him, yes. He walked into a championship fight. I've always fought my way in the shit. I ain't asked for nothing. I haven't been given anything. All my shit has been earned. He walked into a championship fight. Yes, he had to eliminate everybody. So, I mean, come on, let's just be real. Who gives a fuck what Charles Martin did against him? The same shit they saying about me against Price, they going to say about me against Joshua. Give me the shot. Fuck what you say. Give me the shot. It can't be no worse than Molina. I'm going to come to fight. You know I'm going to be entertaining, so what's the problem? You know the people would love to see it. Would not the England fans love to see Joshua tested by the tiger?
People would love
Would
that.
they not love to see it? Thank you. So what the fuck is the problem with Eddie Hearns?
Now, just in case you
tell Eddie Hearns, what the fuck is, you ask Eddie Hearns, what the fuck is wrong with that? You ask him. You tell him, be honest with the fans and tell everybody on Twitter, the God's honest truth, why they wouldn't want to fight me. Tell them. Whatever it be. If they think they're going to try to say, oh, you know, it's about the drugs and all that. Come on, man. They know better than that. They had the transcripts from the drugs. Even the drug people said my high blood pressure posed no advantage in boxing. It's high blood pressure medicine. So when people talk about me and drugs, tell them state the fucking facts. The facts are for people to already see. I ain't making them up. They can go to the drug board and see the facts. The facts say it was high blood pressure. The facts say the board already ruled that it had no athletic advantage. But the fact remains they were salty and they were mad I kicked Davis' ass. So they had to take me through something.
Just in case for some reason you don't land the Joshua fight for 2017, I hope you do, touch wood that you do. Is there anyone else on your radar that you would like to fight? Ain't got to just be.
I mean, honestly, at this, if
anyone,
honestly, at this, I mean, I don't care. Like I said, you already know. You name only the top people in the UK. I'll fight Hughie, baby Hughie, because it might give me a shot at his brother. Hopefully, I kick his ass. His big brother take it personal and want to kick my ass back.
Who's that?
Something
Huey?
Like that. I don't. Hughie Fury was baby. I call him Baby Hughie. You call him Baby Hughie, okay? No, we ain't gonna call him Hughie Fury. We're gonna call him Baby Hughie because he's been ducking. They've been ducking me too. They've been ducking me too, acting like they want to fight in the social media, but behind closed doors, they cowering.
I do want to ask you, actually, you just mentioned there, you know, before we come to an end of this, I know that you've expressed feelings to fight Tyson Fury in the past. He seems to have gone off the rails at the moment. You know, we both agree he did a great thing to go over to Germany and beat Klitschko, but he was too unfit mentally to defend the belts, and he seems to be in a real dark place at the moment. Have you got any thoughts on this, Tony, or perhaps any message you'd like to send to him?
I like to tell Tyson Fury, honestly, as a fighter, I know some of the shit he's going through, and I know the business side of boxing makes this shit harder than it's supposed to be. But you're a champion, you know? Get the deadbeats off your back and go about being a great champion. Forget what the naysayers are doing, man. You have won the heavyweight championship of the world. Go out there and be the great champion you think you should be. Forget all the hanger-ons. Forget the groupies. Forget the drugs. Forget the cocaine. Forget whatever you're taking, man. You did a wonderful thing. Go out there and be a champion. Represent your people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And finally, Tony, do you have any message for any of your UK fans that may be listening? You've got a big following over here. There's a lot of love for the Tiger over here.
Hey, man, there's a lot of love from the Tiger for over there. So we even. I love UK. I love the passion of the fans. I know there's some people over there that love me. I know there's some people over there that hate me, but it's all in the name of the sport, and I'm okay with that. I love it. I love the booing. I love the celebrating you guys do with your folk. I love it, man. I wish I had that type of passion behind me over here in my hometown. I love it, and I look forward to coming to the UK to break your motherfucking hearts again in the name of the sport. It's not mean. It's not malicious. I love the sport as much as you guys, and I love competing in front of passionate fans. So you tell one of the motherfucking UK promoters, get my ass back over there.
And I'll probably get shouted at if I didn't ask this question, but I need to check on the welfare of your wife, Tony. Is she in the infamous wheelchair?
Y'all crazy, man. Well, you know, as she came out of traction and soaked for a few weeks, everything was back to normal.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, listen, Tony, it's been a pleasure. It really has. I appreciate you giving us a bit of time this week. Good luck with the future. We'll keep a close eye on what's next for you, big man.
No problem, man. Be easy, brother. Peace.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the preview part. There's not too much to go over, but there is a couple of real good fights on this weekend, including one, well, fight of the year, I guess. I guess it's hard to say if it's going to be fight of the year before the first bell goes, but it's definitely a fight that's been anticipated, highly anticipated. Everybody's wanted to see it for a long, long time, and we've finally got it. We're going to get onto that in due course. On Wednesday night, this is Wednesday the 16th of November, so by the time this podcast goes out, it's only a couple of hours later. So, this fight would have probably taken place by then. It's a man that we've had on the show a couple of times, a real nice guy, honestly, one of the best guys to interview, a real nice guy. There's a lot of great guys in boxing, and he's certainly one of them. Silky Wilkie Campfort. He, of course, was a former world title challenger. It's a weird one. He's in a 9-rounder. I don't know what that's about, but he's in a 9-rounder. This one's for the vacant WBA Feder Carib. That's like a Federation Caribbean super welterweight title against a guy called Jeffrey Rosales. So Jeffrey Rosales, 8 wins, 3 losses and 2 draws. Wilkie Campfort, 21-3. So a fight here that really Wilkie Campfort should get done. He's not got the hugest name in the world, and we give him a mention because he's a nice guy. I know he's had some bad things happen to him in his private life. I know that a family member of his died very recently, and I know that he wants to dedicate this fight to them. So Wilkie Campfort, we wish you all the best, my friend. You already know. So all the best of luck to him. There's also an 11-rounder. There's 2 11-rounders on that bill as well. It's weird. I don't know this is a 9-rounder Campfort's fight, and there's 2 11-rounders on it. It's a really weird one there. That's over in Haiti. Maybe they just do things different over there. I'm not sure. So that's it for that one. That's Wednesday the 16th of November. We're now going to go over to Friday the 18th of November. So this Friday, Diego Chavez, a bit of a dirty fighter, to be honest. That's what he's known for. His record, 24 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw. He was one of those opponents that was matched up for Kell Brook that had no chance of happening, never ended up happening. And I was quite happy, to be honest, because I don't really rate him too much. But I wasn't too happy when I think Frankie Gavin took his place, or whoever it was in the end. I can't remember. But Diego Chavez, as I said, 24 wins, 2 losses and the 1 draw. He faces Luis Pablo Zarate, who has a record of 21 wins and 3 losses. That's at the Social Club over in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So Diego Chavez backyard, so he should probably get the job done there. Another strange one happening over in Russia at the DIVS, which is the Divs Arena. Top of the bill over here, Dmitry Mikalenko, 21-1. He faces Breedis Prescott, 30 wins and 8 losses. Everybody should know if you've been in boxing for a long time. Well, not too long, but at least 10 years or so. A little bit over that, I think. Breedis Prescott knocked out Amir Khan in the first round and gave Amir Khan his first loss just over 10 years ago, I think it was now. And he's fighting for the interim WBC silver welterweight title, so quite a decent title there. I'm being serious. And Mikalenko's the champion right now, but that should be, well, it's a strange fight, but that should be a good one there. But I think Mikalenko should get the job done. That's over in Russia, as I said. That's it for Russia. Also on the Friday, happening over in Wembley Arena, a good fight, and I think it's on Channel 5. Top of the bill, George Groves, 24 wins, 3 losses. He faces Edward Gutnech, who has a record of 30 wins, 4 losses and 1 draw. This one's for Groves' WBA International Super Middleweight title. So George Groves in action on free-to-air TV. Sounds good to me. It's a tasty sort of undercard anyway. There's some decent fighters on here. Andrew Selby, another guy. He was actually on the last show we did just 3 weeks ago now, I guess, or 2 weeks ago. We've missed 2 weeks, so it makes it 3 weeks ago, I suppose. Andrew Selby, he looks to move to 7-0. He faces Jake Borneo, who has a record of 11 wins and 1 draw. This one's for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Flyweight title. Nobody wants to fight Andrew Selby for his British title, so he's having to go out and find other silverware. And this was the opponent he was supposed to face a couple of weeks back when he fought, and he's finally getting in there with him, so it's going to be a good contest, this one. Andrew Selby, I'm a huge fan of his. Also on the undercard, Conrad Cummins, he looks to move to 11-0. Of course, he's got that 1 draw. He faces Ronnie Mitag, who has a record of 28 wins and 2 losses with the 1 draw. This one's actually a good fight. I think it's going to be quite possibly fight of the night here. This one's for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Middleweight title. Conrad Cummins, another good fighter coming through. And heavy heavyweight Nick Webb's on this bill. He just jumps on every bill all over the place. He looks to move to 9-0. His opponent yet to be announced, but it's a 6-rounder at heavyweight. Nick Webb, a real chilled guy. I remember the interview we did. It sounded like he was falling asleep. He's a real chilled out guy. That's it for Wembley Arena. I'm looking forward to that one. As I said, just to remind you, Channel 5, I think it maybe starts at 7 o'clock or something like that. Channel 5 on Friday night. We're now going to go over to the Fantasy Springs Casino over in California. I do love a Fantasy Springs bill. Top of the bill, Mauricio Herrera, another man that's been on our show before, former interim world champion as well, 22 wins and 6 losses. He faces Pablo Cesar Cano, 29-5 with the 1 draw. This is going to be a good fight in terms of clash of styles and stuff like that. It's one I'm going to be watching for sure. It's a 10-rounder at welterweight. So this is more Pablo Cesar Cano's territory than Herrera's. He's really a 140 fighter, but it'd be interesting. Mauricio Herrera is a good fighter. He's definitely not one to be underestimated, but we thought we'd throw that one in there. And also on this undercard, a prospect that I should mention, Joshua Franco. He fights out at the Robert Garcia gym. He looks to move to 8-0. His record at the moment, 7-0. It's a 4-rounder at bantamweight. His opponent, Felipe Rivas, 17-17 with a 4 draws. But he's allowed to fight opponents like that because Josh Franco is just going through. And believe me, he's looking seriously good. He really is going to be a name in the future. That's it for Fantasy Springs Casino. We're now going to go over to Florida at the Uccello Heritage Center, again still in USA. A fight that I want to mention on this bill, just the one fight. Matt Korobov, it's not unbeaten, of course. He's got that one devastating knockout loss to Andy Lee. So Matt Korobov, 26-1. He faces Scott Sigman, 27-9 with the 1 draw. Matt Korobov's been very, very quiet since that loss to Andy Lee, which was a long time ago now, man, a couple of years. So hopefully Matt Korobov can get back to winning ways. He was a good fighter when he was on form, and we'll have to wait and see what his future holds. But that's it for Friday. We're now going to go over to Saturday, the 19th of November, this Saturday. Marco Huck, remember we were talking about Oval McKenzie being in a fight with him. He puts his IBO World Cruiserweight title on the line again. That's not a title that's considered a proper world title, but Marco Huck, he looks to pick up his 40th career win. His record 39-3 with the 1 draw, and he faces Dimitro Kutcher, who I've seen up close. I remember when he fought Enzo Macronelli a couple of months back and knocked him spark out, and he looked really good, Dimitro Kutcher. So this is going to be a real good fight, and I tell you what, if Huck's not on form, Kutcher could be able to do this, because Kutcher is a tough, underrated guy. He really is. So that's going to be an intriguing fight, that one. That's it for Germany. We're now going to come over to the Victoria Warehouse in Manchester, United Kingdom. One fight on this bill that I really think is going to be a good fight. Again, it's not world level, it's not European level, it's on a much lower scale. But if you're a hardcore boxing fan, you will know about these guys. Matty Askin, his record 20 wins and 3 losses with the 1 draw. It's a 12-rounder at cruiserweight against undefeated Tommy McCarthy. Now, Tommy McCarthy, I'm telling you, this guy can fight. He really can. So that's a really, really good fight. Both guys at different ends of their career, and I think that Tommy McCarthy, a lot of people raving about how good he's supposed to be. I haven't seen him. I think I've seen him once. I think I was in a dressing room once when he was there. I think I'd just seen his fight. I can't remember where it was now, but he was on some undercard, and he is he's very talented from what I've seen as well. I like the way he does pads. He's a good guy to look out for, believe me. So this one's a great fight, and if he can beat Matty Askin, he's certainly going on to big things, because Matty Askin, a little bit of a gatekeeper around about that British English level. So good stuff there, and all the best of luck to both guys at the end of the day. But that's it for that one at the Victoria Warehouse. Now we're just skipping between venues like that. Now we're going over to the USA, T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ayaz, I know that you've been excited about this one for a long time. So has every boxing fan out there. We're going to start with the top of the bill fight. I can't start with the undercard because it's that juicy. Top of the bill, Sergey Kovalev, 30-0 with the 1 draw. He faces, in the other corner, Andre Ward, 30-0 with no draws. Just a clean, unblemished record. Both guys, combined record 60-0. Somebody's O has got to go. Andre Ward hasn't been at light heavyweight for a long time. Sergey Kovalev has. Sergey Kovalev's the man with the belts, with a WBA super World Light Heavyweight title, the IBF World Light Heavyweight title, and the WBO World Light Heavyweight title. The only belt he hasn't got is a belt which is called the WBC belt, and Adonis Stevenson, who doesn't want anything to do with Sergey Kovalev, holds. So Sergey Kovalev, the main man at light heavyweight, everybody knows that. Andre Ward crashed the weight division, showed everybody a bit of skill, hasn't been there for too long, maybe hasn't been able to get too comfortable in the weight, but he's in there and there's no excuses. He's ready to take on the crusher Kovalev, and Kovalev is ready to take on Andre the Trickster Ward. I think I've just made that nickname up for him. Of course, his real alias is the SOG, the Son of God. Ayaz, I will say no more. Talk to me about this fight, please.
This is going to be a good fight. I can tell you this, right?
Yes, sir.
Ward is like a defensive fighter. Kovalev is known for punching, but the way Ward's... I'll tell you who I'm going to go for straight away for this win. I'm going for a Ward win on points because Ward's just going to box and move him. That's how good Ward is.
Again, Ward, one of the best defensive fighters in the world. Kovalev, really known for his offensive stuff. He showed some great boxing skills against Bernard Hopkins. We know that he can bang. He really can. Kovalev, I don't really like to publicise it too much, but we know he killed a guy in the ring. He's an absolute animal. He's just got to tickle you and you can go to sleep. He's got hands like that. He's unbelievable. Some of the shots he puts people down with is freakish. And, he's never fought anybody as good as Andre Ward, and Andre Ward arguably has never fought anybody as good as him. That is what makes it that little bit more intriguing. That just puts the cherry on top of the icing, on top of the cake. What a fight, Ayaz. I mean, I don't know where to start. Andre Ward's great on the inside. He really is. Sergey Kovalev, not the best on the inside. I've got to be honest. Andre Ward, he likes to control stuff with his distance, but I think Kovalev having that longer reach should want to fight this fight with with some distance. He wants to. It's going to be really weird because it's like Andre Ward's definitely not the stronger of the fighters. He's going to be on the back foot. Kovalev's going to be the aggressor. He's going to be coming forward. Andre Ward's got to try and make him miss. If he lands one punch on Ward's chin, that could be night-night. It really could. It's so intriguing. Anything could happen here. And Ayaz, just to make it a little bit more exciting, I've been changing my mind every single half an hour. I think Kovalev's going to win. I think Ward's going to win. I've been changing my mind all the time. I'm going to go against you here. I'm going to go with a Kovalev win. What are the scores right now on the scoreboard of the predictions? Is it 2-2? I believe it's 2-2. Is that right?
Yes, it's 2-2.
Okay, it's 2-2. All right, I'm going to go against you here. So on the next show next week, we're going to find out who's winning 3-2. So I'm going to go with a Kovalev win. We don't have to say the outcome, whether it's knockout or points, but I think I'm going to go with a Kovalev win, probably by knockout. But I'm going to just go with a Kovalev win. You're going with an Andre Ward win. Oh man, this is a proper fight, boxing fans. I'm telling you, this is a proper fight. It's live and exclusive on Sky Sports. It's regular. It's not no box office stuff or anything like that. Despite having a decent undercard as well. Oh, it's just honestly, my mouth's just really filled up there with saliva. Really, it just wets my mouth. This fight is it's real juicy. It really, really is. I could talk about it all day. What a fight. You've got to watch this. You've got to tape it if you can't watch it. It's just, oh my God, it's a great fight. I can't wait. No more. I can't say no more about it. What a fight. Fight of the year. It's going to be brilliant. It really is. Also on that bill, Kovalev's past opponent, his most recent opponent in his last fight, one that he didn't look impressive too much, but because this man, it's very hard to look impressive against. Isaac Chilemba, 24 wins, 4 losses, and the 2 draws. He faces Alexander Gavodzic, who's a real good fighter. So this is going to be a great, great fight. Believe me when I say it. It's for Chilemba's NABF light heavyweight title. So a little bit of a spice there added to the mix, and that is going to be a good fight. I know that it's very hard to say Chilemba's going to be in a good fight, but it's going to be interesting what the outcome's going to be anyway. It's probably not going to be too action-packed, but it should be a good one. Also on the bill, Curtis Stevens, former opponent of Gennady Golovkin, he puts his WBA Continental Americas middleweight title on the line against James De La Rosa. Curtis Stevens, for a long, long time now, has been calling people out, most namely David Lemieux. He hasn't managed to get that fight at all. So he gets James De La Rosa here. Both men have similar records. Curtis Stevens 28-5, James De La Rosa 23-4. That should shape up to be a decent contest. And also on the bill, the last fight to mention of the preview, we've really tried to whiz through this as quick as possible. I said that we'd be talking about a female fighter after Ayaz brought in the news about Katie Taylor, and here is probably one of the best, if not the best, women's fighter really from history. I know that it's hard to compare amateurs to pros, but she's gonna do her thing in the pro ranks, and I'm confident she can do some great stuff in the paid ranks. I really, really am. Turning pro on this bill in a 4-rounder, 4 2-minute rounds. Both girls making their debuts. In one corner, Franchon Cruz. I know nothing about her. She's making her debut. But in the other corner, the 2-time Olympic gold medalist winner, Clarissa Shields, a great fighter, a really, really great fighter. And it really seems this week, it's been a bit of a theme with females boxing. It really, really has. It's, you know, there's quite a lot of movement in the female side of the sport, the female side of boxing this week. There's some great stuff happening soon, and hopefully it will get leveled out. I know that, you know, there's not much appeal for women's boxing. There's not much money in it, but hopefully stuff like this gets it a bit more level. You know, things aren't always very fair, and I understand that. You know, it's more of a men's sport. I think I can say without getting in any trouble, it's more of a man's sport. You know, having a fight, bashing someone up. But the fact that women go and do it as well, I think they take the same amount of risk really as the men do, so they should be rewarded for that. So I think that Clarissa Shields is definitely going to bring some serious attention to women's boxing, and so will Katie Taylor. And what an incredible moment this is for females boxing. These really good, 2 seriously good, talented fighters, really good fighters, going pro here just within a couple of weeks of each other. So fantastic stuff there for women's boxing once again. And we wish Katie Taylor and Clarissa Shields the best of luck. And to be honest, I don't think they'll need it because they're both so talented. It's incredible. But that's really it for the preview. That's really it for all the talking on this show. We've whizzed through it as quick as we could. We're now going to do the last thing before we end the show, is to welcome our second guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome a man that shares his middle name with Mike Tyson. He's achieved bundles in the amateur game. He's now embarking on a professional career. It's, of course, Mr. Paddy Barnes. Paddy, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me.
Hey, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Now, Paddy, first things first, I'm going to ask you about your first fight, which took place on the 5th of this month in a moment. But firstly, what has the transition been like for you from turning, from going from amateur to pro?
I haven't really experienced anything so far because, I've only recently turned pro, and, that first fight I had, I wouldn't really call it a fight. It was just me in a ring chasing some fella about for 4 rounds. So I don't really know until I start fighting for like 10, like doing 10, 12 rounds. But hopefully it'll happen sooner rather than later.
And has there been any difference in terms of training, anything like that? That's, has your training varied from amateur to pro at all?
No, to be honest with you, my first fight, because of like stuff happening with my missus' pregnancy, she was in hospital for 8 weeks, so I was limited to what I could do. I had planned to go to England and take up with a few trainers to see who was the best, but that was all put on the back ball. So I more or less just trained myself with help of a few underhoods from about Belfast and Dublin, strength and conditioning for that fight.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, okay, we'll leave that one there. You've obviously turned pro with MGM, Matthew Macklin's outfit. Why MGM of all people, Paddy? Because I'm sure you had a lot of offers come in.
You would think that at first, but to be honest, MGM are the only people who are really offering me anything. So, I had to blame them because of the offer they give me. So no one else did. And, I'm thankful that they asked me something because you just need to look at the people who they have on their books, the serious names, and they're forever growing. Every week they're saying new people. You get Billy Joe Saunders, Martin Murray. You have a few big names on their book. So The only ones are bigger.
Yeah, I mean they haven't been around for too long, obviously, but they're doing pretty good with the fighters that they have got for sure. And back to the fight you had, I mentioned earlier that it took place on the 5th of this month. You fought Stefan Slavchev. Now it was a bit of a crazy one, to be honest. It was a bit of a crazy one, to be honest. It was a little bit of a mix between a wrestling match and a boxing match. He tried to slam dunk you after repeated fouls, and the referee had seen enough by round 4 and disqualified him. Not the way you wanted your first fight to go, I assume, Paddy.
Oh no, definitely not. No, professional boxing is more or less show business. So I want to go out there after selling a lot of tickets and a lot of people there to support me. I wanted to go out and put a show on and showcase my skills, but I was unable to do that there because the opponent was just a spoiler. He kept running, he wouldn't engage. And as you say, he just kept fouling, and eventually he actually lifted me, and the referee called a help lift. So maybe it shouldn't have been stopped, but I'm glad it was because it was such a boring fight. I think the fans could. I would have been afraid of the fans didn't feel it and leaving, and may not come to watch me again because of my think all of it could be the.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It takes two to tango sometimes in fights, but he wasn't up for it. I definitely agree. I understand
that journey with art is a vibe, but I think there's a limit to how much a vibe you can go to do.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Now, I know it's still early days yet. You've only had the one fight, but do you have any idea when you'll be going into, those bigger fights? We've seen stellar amateurs get involved in big fights very quickly, sometimes too quickly. What is the plan for you, Paddy, if you know at this point in time?
For the next fight, I've asked my management team. I can't say no names, but I've asked them for hopefully a title fight, like a major title fight, like international title, against a fighter who's I think he's ranked 7th in the world.
Oh wow!
So his last fight was a world title fight. He lost it, so I'll be hopeful. So,
wow!
I pray that they take it. It's a serious step up, but I feel I'm ready for it.
So you're not looking to waste any time at all, then?
No, because I fight journeyman every week, and somebody make me look bad, but I feel I'm ready to push on. And the better the opponent for me, the better my fight becomes. The more I can showcase my skills.
Absolutely. Now, as you say there, this fight hopefully comes off. Touch wood. Have you got any idea when that is likely to be? When you're next out at all?
I'm hearing of a show in Belfast in February, early March. So if the opponent, I can't see him travelling there, but if he could be brilliant. But if not, I can be hopeful that maybe it could be on the top rank bill.
Okay.
St. Patrick's Day. So if it was on that,
that'd be great. Yeah, that'd be great. That will be great. Will you be at flyweight? Is that what the weight that you're sort of looking to stay at?
Yeah, flyweight. Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. There's some good guys at flyweight, especially guys that had good amateur careers. Obviously, you've got the likes of Andrew Selby, Charlie Edwards as well in that mix. Yeah. So it's a good little division. Have you got an opinion on either of those guys at all?
Yeah, they're both brilliant. Both very good amateurs. Charlie Edwards fought for a world title as the main fight with him. So he's of MGM and they delivered that for him. So I think there's definitely people deliver for me. But so both brilliant. Andrew Selby's, he's doing very, very well at the minute. He's fighting for a title here Friday night, and I enjoy watching him because he's very fast and he's got of skills. There's no wait, and one day our paths could cross, and it's something that I know for sure that both of us would love to happen.
Yeah, hopefully so. That'd be a good fight. You've injected a bit of life into the flyweight division, to be honest. Paddy turning pro. Now, obviously, there's been a bit of a debate of 2016. Everybody's kind of thinking, who's been the fighter of the year in 2016? A lot of people are looking at Carl Frampton for that, seeing as he's beaten 2 world champions in 2 different weight divisions, both of those fights in the other guy's backyards as well. Would you say he's probably been fighter of the year in 2016, Paddy?
Yeah, most definitely. I'm not doing that because he's my friend, but it's evident that he should be getting that title because, as I say, he's beat 2 unbeaten world champions in their own backyards. He unified 1 division. He moved up and beat, Neil Santa Cruz in America, which is just unbelievable. And it was such a great fight too. So I feel that he'd fit that award there, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely on that one. And obviously, as you said, you reckon you're next out in sometime next year, February, March sometime. How many fights, ideally, would you like to have in 2017? It's a bit of a tricky question, because when I ask this to guys who have just turned pro, a lot of guys go, I want to have 10, 11 fights. But because you don't want to waste no time, you want to jump straight in there with these higher-level fighters, you probably can't fight 10 or 12 times a year. How many times would you like to fight in 2017, ideally, Paddy?
If this opponent agrees to fight me, it's just a big fight, then maybe 4 times.
Oh, wow. So still pretty active, though.
Yeah, because there'll be 4 rounders, there'll be 10 rounders. So yeah. I think 4 will be enough.
Great stuff. And finally, Paddy, what is the ultimate goal for you? What are your ambitions as a pro? And could you give us a prediction of time you think it will take for you to reach those ambitions?
I think in 2 years' time, definitely be a world champion, and I'll be champion of flyweight. And in my head, probably is all a dream at the minute. I plan on making it a reality. I want to be flyweight world champion and just fight the super flyweight world champion straight away, and then if possible, fight the bantamweight world champion straight away.
Wow.
They're the dream.
Yeah, no, but you're pretty good with what you want to do. You're pretty good if you just look in history, in the past of what you've done in the amateurs, what you want to happen, you seem to get done. So you comfortably believe definitely by what are we now? We're almost at the end of 2017. So 2020 definitely Paddy Barnes will be a world champion. Okay, great stuff. Great stuff. Okay, Paddy. Go on. All right, Paddy, just before I let you go, I'd like to give you a chance to thank any sponsors or just anyone in general you'd like to shout out at all.
No, I'd like to thank myself for being the best boxer in the world.
Anyone at all to thank? No? Just yourself?
No, I don't think nobody. People thank me.
And lastly, Paddy, please give everybody your Twitter handle. You've got a bunch of followers, but for those that may not know what your Twitter is, please give it to them so that they can get following your journey.
If people don't follow me already, it must be nutcases. It's Paddy B _Ireland.
Excellent. Excellent.
Or just delete it on Twitter.
Excellent. Okay, so Paddy B _Ireland. Great stuff. Okay, listen, Paddy, it's been my pleasure having you on the show, my friend. I wish you all the best for the future, and we'll no doubt speak again soon.
No problem. Thanks very much. And if anybody wants to translate it, come back to me. Speak fast.
Thank you very much, Paddy. Take care, mate.
No problem. Take it easy.
Okay, now it's time to conclude episode 57 of the BoxHard podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. We were away for 2 weeks and we've come back with a bang, I'd like to think. Thanks to our 2 guests for taking part in this week's show, Paddy Barnes and, of course, Tony the Tiger Thompson. Yet again, this podcast throws 2 entirely unrelated names together. I love it. I truly do. Remember, if you get a chance, please leave us a review on iTunes. It will be very much appreciated. And we'll be back next week with another big show. As always, until next time, people, take care.